Howdy guys, Paul with you here today. I know this ain't a truck, and for the most part this ain't a Ram. But this video's for my regulars. Would you listen to that? I don't know if the mic's picking it up. That sounds really good. Anyways guys, this video's to my regulars. I've mentioned in a recent video that my wife got me a car and I daily drive a Gt350 and yada yada, so I figured I'd keep y'all updated. And you don't like it, shut it down. I know this truck channel has nothing to do about Ford and Mustangs and Gt350s. I'll just do a walk around and get inside the vehicle. It's nippy out here. So what I want to underline, guys, I want to be genuinely transparent with you guys so you guys understand me. Instead of me contradicting myself, you guys, come on with the program and understand what Paul's trying to say here. I am not a Ford guy, guys. And the question begs to be asked, and Paul, please answer it. Why in the world do you have a Ford? Well, here you go. In my story, I told you guys how this is a Heritage Edition, and the Heritage Editions are fairly slim. They're not, I mean, Gt350s are not that popular, or I shouldn't say popular, they're not that many out there, and then Heritage Editions even slims down the selection. So there's one in the area. I was driving by, I was literally like 50 miles away. I swung by to check it out. I was with my whole family on a business trip. Yes sir, on a business trip. I literally had a meeting in Portland for 20 minutes. I was headed to Seattle to meet with another guy, and I had my whole family with me. Well, I think it's Shelton. Who knows Spokane? Shelton, that's where this vehicle is at. I stopped by, checked it out, hit the road, and my wife's like, hey, how do you like that car? I'm like, it's nice. I like it. I feel like at home. It just fit like a glove. Keep in mind, my old timers know I used to have a Gt350 for a short time. For political reasons, or whatever you want to call them. For historical reasons, I had to get rid of it. But back to the story. I got in the vehicle. My wife's like, well, why don't you buy it if you like it? And she knew, I brought her up to speed, and I told her, hey, it's a Heritage Edition, and I'm not gonna really get much of an opportunity to check one of these out. Do you mind if I stop by and do a detour? She's like, I don't care, go for it. So now we're back to driving, and she's like, well, why don't you buy it? She knew that the opportunity wasn't that popular, shouldn't say readily available. I'm like, well, I'll think about it. So I drove home, came home, told her, hey, I'll buy a fun car in the winter. She's like, you're not going to be able to get a Heritage in the winter. I'm like, high percentage I won't, but if I still have my, focus on a Gt350, I'll buy a brand new one. Not to get too far into it, Ford did something phenomenal in 19 and 20 with these engines, that they can handle boost stock, and they're more stout of an engine. They're a generation 2 versus the generation 1. They still have the, this is a race setup, like a mass produced, or should I say publicly, it's for public usage. This is a race car in its sense, you know what I mean? Nowadays this won't impress anyone, but still, who has all these, like half of these are uncommon. Like the first one's engine oil temp, great, cars have that, but transmission temperature on a manual, I don't know. Axle oil temp, well, that's definitely in my books towards a race car. Engine oil pressure, okay, that's common, but air fuel ratio, not so much. That's definitely leaning towards the race car. Inlet air temperatures, you got to know that information when you're racing. Cylinder head temperature, that's definitely a race car, guys. It's just like, it sounds funny, and it sounds funny to me to even say it that way. It's a race car, but it's a race car converted to a civilian kind of deal and daily usage, and with a little bit of creature comfort without compromising too much of that race feeling. When you got oil pressure gauge, a mechanical one, as far as I'm understanding, well, at least it acts like it's mechanical. Well, it's electrical, but I like to think of it as a mechanical pressure sensor there instead of hypothetical. You guys, the mechanically inclined people know what I'm trying to say here. An oil temperature, like a display like that definitely speaks about itself, and the the direction it's headed to. So the ultimate and the reason why I have this vehicle is because how well Ford has accomplished to hit the nail on the head. When you drive this car slowly, it does not speak for itself in its true focus. You know, you notice the dumbness of these door panels. They're not fit and finish in Ford. It's just, they don't belong. Good fit and finish in Ford doesn't belong in one sentence. I mean, paint is just stupid. That paint is just, I don't know. I have nothing to say. But that's not what the vehicle was made for. The vehicle wasn't made to show off its paint. It wasn't made to show off the interior. When you drive this vehicle for what it was intended, you forget about everything and you just admire and enjoy the engine, the transmission, and the suspension. By golly, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful symphony to a guy that enjoys to go out there and make it happen. Now, that with the price tag and what you achieve and the level that you achieve, the race car, the feel, the adrenaline, it's that perfect balance in my mind for this setup. You know, it has 526 horsepower, it's a manual and all the shebang. It's really hard to beat. So when you understand that and you go out and buy a brand new Shelby like my wife did for me, I guess I never finished that story. So when we're driving home, she's like, well, you should buy it. I'm like, I'm gonna buy me a fun car in the winter. That's my goal. 2020, I'm gonna make a lot of stuff happen because 19 wasn't the best year for me. And then, you know, 2021, New Year, right about January, February, I'll go out and buy me a car. And it was literally between the C7 Z06 and this vehicle at that time. 2 days later, Sunday night, she's like, are you still gonna hold off till winter? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna hold off. She's like, okay. Tuesday night, I come home, I find out the car's ready. It's like, hey, well, I didn't buy it. She's like, well, I did. Let's go pick it up. End of story. You know, Wednesday morning, I'm out there picking up my car. That's how I have this car. The legal owner of this vehicle is my wife. But I drive it. And boy, do I enjoy driving this car. Back to what I was trying to explain to you, why I own this vehicle, why I have this vehicle, why I have been such a fan of this vehicle. This vehicle isn't to be understood just by a quick glance. Yeah, the curb appeal might strongly appeal to some people. As a lip kit, you know, as that it's lowered, it's cool. Excuse me. But that's not what it's all about. You got to drive it, and you got to drive this vehicle. Let me put it this way. When I had my other Gt350, it was cool. You know, it's a cool car, yada yada. And then when I got stuck with it, or should I say when the heck I got the keys, might as well drive the car kind of scenario. And I went out there and I drove this thing. And I thought I was a good driver. I usually push the car to its limits, and I know what the limit of the vehicle is. I never got to the limit of that vehicle. I got to the limit of my personal ability to drive that vehicle. And that blew my mind. That really blew my mind. Like, I thought I knew how to drive. And if you guys think you know how to drive, go on a circuit. See how badly you get smoked by those semi-professional drivers on that track. You know, they're weaving in and out, and it's like you're supposed to keep up, but you don't. You keep pushing your car, you keep pushing yourself, and you keep learning and learning, dude. It's an adrenaline thing. If you get it, you do, and it's a never-ending battle. Like, that circuit racing is one heck of a drug. It is a drug. So when I realized that this $60,000 vehicle has outperformed my capability, it has more to offer than I could push it, I'm like, dang. But, you know, the time, I couldn't, there's history behind that car. I had to let it go. And I told myself, most likely I'll buy another one. And then when in 19, I found out they put the second generation engine in this. They're more stout. They can handle boost. I'm like, well, that's a perfect platform. This vehicle is perfect. But if I ever, it's good for what it was intended. But if I ever get bored of its power, keep in mind, I'm coming from a 700 horsepower Mercedes that only does super well in a straight line as far as racing competition goes. You know, it's a good daily driver, it's comfortable and all that, but a straight line, it will outrun this car pretty easily. So if I ever get bored with this vehicle and its straight line performance, which it was not built for, I could, you know, safely put a was gonna say GoPro, not a GoPro. They call it. It's like this turbo supercharger thing. I just skipped my mind. But in simple terms, I could put a supercharger on this engine and, you know, push 850, 900 horse safely with the stock internals. There you have it, you know. So yes, this is a Ford. Yes, I own another Ford product. I didn't buy it because it's a Ford. I didn't buy it, but Ford did such a wonderful job with their Ford Racing Performance team and creating the balance of this vehicle, and me having the opportunity to get a Heritage, deciding not to. My wife goes out and buys that vehicle. I better hold on to this vehicle. Unless I get really bored of it for whatever reason, I better hold on to this vehicle. And y'all are going to ask the question, why not Gt500? Guys, if you're talking about a sports car, and you're talking about a two-door sports car, and I'm a very practical kind of guy, and you're going to get me in a two-door, and I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but this is a sports car. I better have one of these. I don't want your automatic. I don't care about your numbers, man. I go to the drag strip, you can smoke me. But as long as I'm having fun, that is it. That's all that really matters to me. This is what this vehicle is about. Just the pure joy, the adrenaline that this vehicle provides. The fact that I could drive this car slowly, still enjoy the transmission, the sound of the engine. It's great. I could go out there and push its limits, or should I say my own limits for now. I still haven't pushed its limits. I can enjoy it. I don't want your paddle shifters. I just don't get it. A sports car, unless you're chasing numbers, a strictly fun vehicle should be manual. And 526 horse is not a lot of horsepower. It's a good amount of horsepower, but it's nothing to brag about. It's nothing to compete with. And Ford did that to perfectly balance the vehicle. That's what it's all about. Anyways, guys, this vehicle had 5.4 miles. My goodness, what's going on with my camera? 5.4 miles. So I've personally put on 1,634 miles on the dot on this vehicle, and I've enjoyed every single bit of it. And I will put Ford for what they are. My reverse camera went out at 1,200. It would just go staticky 60% of the time. I mean, it seems like they got it down. My only complaint for now, as I've said, the finish, the gaps are just horrendous. The paint job, the color is awesome, but the paint job, the quality of the paint is crap. Ford, step it up. What are you guys doing? Like, I have corners that are black on the bumpers. Like, seriously? I'll show you guys. Instead of just yapping, might as well show you guys. I don't know if, camera will pick it up. See that line? That's a freaking black line, guys. I don't know if you could tell. No, that's not just a corner. It's a black line. And my Genius camera is doing a phenomenal job focusing in. But there you go. You see it? Looks like someone wore it out or something. And it's not just this. I mean, look at this crap. Look at that popping out. The line isn't as bad, but it's horrible. That doesn't make sense. The line isn't horrible in every place. Like every line isn't horrible, but some of them are just horrendous. You know, like you can tell, bigger gap, smaller gap, but certain gaps are just horrendous. I mean, Ford, that's glue. They won't even give a rat's to straighten things out. Look at that. No, that's not junk. That's, I believe that's body sealant. Yeah, it's body sealant. You see that? They didn't even care to just take some sandpaper, straighten it out, and then throw some paint on it. Just dumb stuff like that. Like this bumper. This is a brand new car. I wasn't joking about the black lines, guys. Look at that crap. That is Ford for you. You know, this clip doesn't want to hold in, so I'll come out here and push it in all the way sometimes, from time to time. And if I take it to the Ford dealership, they'll fix this clip and break two others, so the hell with it. I'll just leave it alone or fix it myself. And no, it's not like this dirt. Like, this is a black line. This is not a worn out line. This is a line. This is how I bought the vehicle. But that's not what the vehicle was built about. It just states the facts. It proves the facts that I claim about this vehicle. for what this vehicle was built, it's phenomenal. All right, this video has turned out a lot longer than I ever anticipated to make it, but at least my regulars are up to date about my little Ford car, my little go-kart, my daily go-kart. I think that's what it is. Anyways, guys, as always, may the Lord bless you. May you all have a mighty fine day. Ciao. Bye.